Welcome back. In a moment, I'll be talking with the Labour MP, Stephen Kinnock, about whether he can bring himself to vote for Boris Johnson's deal and his reaction to the resignation from Labour of Louise Ellman. First, Anushka.
Thanks, Robert. I just want to talk to you about that resignation by Liverpool Riverside MP Louise Ellman. Just show you a few tweets. Here's the Mirror political editor Pippa Crerar. Louise Ellman quits Labour, saying Jeremy Corbyn is not fit to serve as our PM. Pippa pointing out that the letter Louise has sent has suggested it's all about anti-Semitism. We then did get a tweet from Louise Ellman herself saying she'd made the truly agonising decision to leave the Labour Party after 55 years, saying I can no longer advocate voting Labour when it risks Corbyn becoming PM. A lot of Jeremy Corbyn supporters very angry about the timing of this. Let me show you one more from Gabby Hinsliff. To read some of the repulsive comments on here about Louise Ellman leaving Labour is not only to understand why she left, but to marvel that she hung on for so long. Robert.
Well, I'm delighted that Stephen Kinnock, the Labour MP, is joining me. Stephen, first of all, can I have your reaction to Louise Ellman, a Labour Party member for 55 years, resigning because she cannot support the idea of your leader, Jeremy Corbyn, becoming Prime Minister?
It's a tragedy, Robert. Louise is one of the most widely respected and liked members right across our Parliamentary Labour Party and across our movement. And it really is just so awful that this evil of anti-Semitism is rearing its ugly head again. And you know, my heart goes out to Louise this evening. I know how much it must have been, how difficult it must have been for her. Her Jewish identity and her Labour identity run through her, and it must have been a terribly hard decision for her to make. But she's clearly done what she felt was right for her and her family, and it's a massive loss to our movement.
Now, as you're aware, you wield enormous influence at this moment in respect of how this, well, what happens about Brexit. Boris Johnson desperately needs you to vote for his Brexit deal. From what you've heard of it so far, what are the prospects of you being able to walk through the lobbies with the Tory party and vote for this deal?
Well, it's incredibly difficult because we're just sort of getting scraps from the negotiating table. I have no text, no proposal, no words on a piece of paper which actually can show me the direction of travel that the government is proposing and what's being agreed with the European Union.
Has the Prime Minister actually made any effort to reach out to you yet?
We've had some conversations with Conservative MPs. There's a lot of cross-party cooperation going on. We formed the MPs for a Deal group, and of course some Conservative MPs are in direct conversation with Number 10, and those messages are feeding through. So there are conversations going on. But what we've made clear, what I've made clear to anyone that wants to listen is that it really is all about the level playing field.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a level playing field on environmental, consumer and workers' rights, you will not be able to strike a free trade deal with the European Union at the end of the transition period, because the EU will simply see you as dumping, social dumping, environmental dumping, unfair competition. And that would be a disaster, particularly for our manufacturing sector, and MPs for whom thousands of jobs are located in the manufacturing sector and their constituencies can't support that.
So just to follow up on that, I mean, there are actually contradictory reports tonight. On the one hand, there have been reports out of Brussels that the Prime Minister has signalled he will sign up for meeting EU environmental and workers' rights standards. But then I've actually just only a few minutes ago put it to senior government sources whether that's happening, and they say not. So you just to be clear, you're saying if those promises are not there on this level playing field on workers' rights and the environment, you cannot support his deal?
I can't support anything which is just going to lead to a sort of deregulated Wild West, not only because I think that's not right in terms of our Labour values, but also for the very practical reason that you won't get a trade deal that works for the manufacturing sector, because the European Union will simply put up the barriers and say, we're not going to engage with you on a free trade deal if you're all about unfair competition and undercutting us. But just that's the reality of any trade negotiation.
But just to be clear, if he reaches out and gives you what you want in that sense, you, at this stage, would take the view now is the moment to back Brexit.
Well, that is where we need to see the detailed legal text.
But if the text meets your requirements, you would back it now?
Yes, if the text meets the requirements of meeting, of course, what Labour's 6 tests always were, And when we went into the 2017 general election, we said we want to respect the referendum result, but leave with a good deal. Here are the tests. Level playing field is absolutely crucial. So I would see that as a Brexit which is based on a compromise between the parties. And let's face it, if we're going to reunite our deeply divided country, we're going to have to learn to compromise with each other.
So can I just bring in your colleague David Lammy on this, who's with me? David, so why do you disagree with, Stephen, that this is the moment for compromise?
Well, I don't actually, on the basis of what Stephen said about a level playing field and relying, I'm very pleased to hear him say that, because of course he knows...
You won't be voting in the same lobby as him on this, will you?
Because, of course, in his constituency, it would be a disaster to have that kind of Brexit. What I would say, though, is that it's clear that you can't trust Boris Johnson, so the text becomes hugely important. The direction of travel from the conversations I was having in Brussels is a FTA that is de minimis, that absolutely is tearing up standards on Labour, because this number 10 desperately wants to deal with the United States.
So I need to put that back.
And it's on that basis, Stephen, I don't think can go for this.
So why is it that, David cannot trust Boris Johnson and you feel you can?
Well, when we vote on this deal, if we actually get a deal which has got proper legal text in it, otherwise it's not a proper formal vote, and there's no point really going through the motions. But if we get a legal text to vote on, it will be based on the withdrawal agreement and the political declaration that will go into primary legislation. It becomes the law. And if in that law it says that there will be a level playing field on workers' rights and environmental standards and consumer standards, that's locked in law. So whoever we have in government, whoever we have in number 10 Downing Street, the law is the law.
Can I bring Andrew in here? So just on that, if environmental standards, workers' rights are locked in law in that sense, could you bring yourself to walk through the same lobby as Stephen Kinnock?
I need to see the rest of the detail, like quite rightly Stephen has said. But let's go back to what Nikki said earlier. As a country, why would we lower standards? We've led the way on workers' rights as a country. Maternity leave is far better in the UK than across the EU. So why would we lower standards? Of course we wouldn't sign up to lower standards. That's just crazy. So we can trust Boris Johnson. And, I have to say with Stephen, I'm quite pleased to hear that, he's actually committed to delivering on the referendum result, unlike some of his colleagues. And maybe Stephen, if you're listening there, maybe you should replace our current chair of the Brexit committee, because I think we could work with you far better.
So on that flattering note, I just do want to bring in David, though.
That's certainly not going to happen. Hillary Benn.
So I'm sure you wouldn't take the opportunity down.
That was a kiss of death.
Just most other MPs in Parliament.
But David, I do want to ask you about the Louise Ellman resignation, because it is a serious moment. And what do you make of it?
I'm very sad. As Stephen said, Louise Ellman is a beloved member of the Parliamentary Labour Party, very senior, very respected member of the Parliamentary Labour Party, was a very good chair of the Transport Select Committee for many years. And I know, representing the Stamford Hill area of London, which obviously is a very orthodox Jewish area, the deep concern and shame.
What does it say, though, when she says that your leader is unfit to be Prime Minister?
Well, it's not great. Of course it's not great. But then I don't think it's news that the Jewish community, for the moment, have largely departed voting for the Labour Party. And that's caused me tremendous concern, not as an MP with such a significant Jewish community. And Louise is reflecting that.
Now, sadly, we are almost out of time. I just want to say thanks very much to Stephen for joining us. Come back soon.